Hello and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky and I'm here today with
Justin DeClue.
And Colin Cunningham, you silly ass.
Whoa, are we on a crank phone call right now?
Yeah, oh, sorry. There was a silence there because April had to cut us laughing so hard.
Oh, it was like blew out the mic almost.
That's right. We fell out of our chair and just rolling.
Oh, the sound wave was like spiking like
crazy.
Is
what Colin was doing when the Jerky Boys themselves were at the height of their power in the early 90s.
The height of their power from 1993 to 1995.
Wow.
So, how big were the Jerky Boys?
They were huge. I mean, to me, I can't remember the first time I heard them, but it was probably like late 80s, early 90s.
They were around in the 80s?
Yeah, I think that's when they started, and they became popular, so it was like very underground. And then Howard Stern started playing their tapes on the show.
And what did they do, Colin, for people that may not know? We may have to explain the whole concept of their bid as well.
Yeah, that's something that you don't see the kids doing anymore is crank phone calls. They would call up people. They would mostly like call people, I think, from... what do you call it?
Like businesses and stuff?
From like the classified ads, newspapers. Again, something that people don't know about. People like looking for something or looking to hire somebody, whatever, and they would call up and they would just do these silly voices and they would record it and they would, play them somewhere.
I mean, it's crazy that this became such a phenomenon, but it did, and it became like a comedy record that you would listen to and laugh with your friends.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, prank phone calls have existed even in record form forever. I have a Sammy Petrillo record, star of Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, the Jerry Lewis impersonator, and he did a prank call record like in the 60s.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a thing. I think ever since phones have been, were invented, I think Alexander Graham Bell was doing crank phone calls. Hey there, silly ass.
So I got to say right from the get-go, I don't find prank phone calls very funny. Mostly because oftentimes it's punching down to the sucker that has to answer a phone.
Yeah.
And... I know I have some friends who like some more recent ones in the last decade, and those are very complex jokes that you're trying to get someone down a path.
Right.
And I did my due diligence, and I went to go listen to some Jerky Boy things from their albums on YouTube that have millions of hits, and it's literally them just throwing racial terms.
Yeah, we tried to do that too, and I wasn't really super impressed.
No, it's just
and there's not even a good reaction from the people. Oftentimes they just laugh.
Or they're just like, confused or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like platinum selling albums.
Listen, back
people
in the day,
could not get enough.
I know. Back in the day, they just hit at a certain moment, and Howard Stern started playing their tapes on air, and then I guess he had them on because they're from New York, from Queens, two low lives from Queens.
Before we get too much into this, I just need to say that this is a patron requested episode for our like every 4 month, quarter monthly listener request.
Our quarterly patron request.
Yeah, like we do a bad movie lottery if you're on the patron level at $2 or above. And Stephen Campbell was the winner this time, and he was very kind to give us 4 different choices.
Oh, thank God.
And we immediately would pick the Jerky Boys.
Yeah, I think we all just said Jerky Boys.
I got to be honest, I have always been intrigued with this movie, and I wanted to see it.
The same. It used to be on the back of every comic book as well.
Yeah, really? And I'm surprised I haven't seen it.
You hadn't seen it?
No, I haven't.
You were a Jerky Boy
This is the
fan.
first time, and I was like, what do you call it?
Listen, I had my Andrew Dice Clay leather jacket ready to go to the Jerky Boys.
You are a little more of that
I had to pick one or the other. I couldn't...
When I was on Napster and LimeWire and stuff, sometimes like Jerky Boy files would come up, and now this is later, but they were often people who were not the Jerky Boys, and it was
back
mislabeled.
in the day, you're like, man, I didn't know Weird Al swore so much in his song parodies.
Yeah, like I remember there was one, and it was labeled Tom Green. Now I don't know if it was Tom Green, but it was him like calling a Chinese restaurant and doing like a offensive accent and asking for things like I'll take like bang bang boogie, like
that wouldn't surprise me if Tom Green did that.
Yeah,
but I think Tom Green is much weirder than the Jerky Boys are.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Green made crank phone calls. Correct me if I'm
sure
wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure he did. Well, let me get his biography out and give it a read here.
Yeah.
Good book, I might add.
So, yeah, you know, I can remember, I think we had the third album. I remember my brother brought over the third CD, and just me and my brother and my dad just sitting around listening to it. Just
and
like
laughing.
in tears laughing like it was the funniest thing we'd ever heard.
And I think the third album came... Wait. The third album, that came out in 1996. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's probably like later. Because
After the movie.
Well, the first album was 1993. And I think the movie was shot in 93, 94. And then the studio sat on it, didn't know what to do with it. And then they released it in 1995 to coincide with their second album release.
I love the idea that the studios moved that quickly. And they're like, you know who needs the movies? These two uncharismatic guys who look like they'd rather be anywhere else.
You have to strike while the iron is hot. It's like with it's like with the Fat Boys. You know, when Disorderlies came out, like you have to. They have a moment. They have like maybe.
The Fat Boys were in multiple movies, not just Disorderlies.
Yeah, I know.
They were also in that Def Jam movie.
To get their own movie, I mean, it's
Crush
like you
Groove,
really have to like get that year period, 12 months.
So,
it's like the two films, like the Lambada movies that came out for the new dance.
This is what I was going to say. So the Jerky Boys are what we would call a novelty.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is a novelty movie. There are lots of novelty movies. The Lambada movie, but like remember like From Justin to Kelly? Like
for sure.
Let's take the two finalists from American Idol. That's popular right now. Let's put them in the movie, even though they can't act.
Yeah.
Maybe the Fat Boys movie is followed them. There's other examples of this, and that's why I was so intrigued with this movie, because it's like they made a movie out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's.
Do you remember the guy in American Idol? I don't remember his name. That he sang like really badly. He was Chinese.
William Hung.
Yes, he had his own Hong Kong movie centered around him.
God.
Yeah, there you go.
He had a whole.
Another example.
He was in a few episodes of Arrested Development.
Was he? I don't even remember that.
It was when Judge Reinhold
That's
did
just like stunt casting.
Yeah, it was like William Hung and the Hung jury.
That's good.
It was really funny.
Just like this movie that we're about to discuss, right, guys?
Okay, so to open off about this
An
movie,
$8 million budget.
$8 million. Wow,
Yeah.
It looks pretty good for $8 million.
It was a Touchstone picture.
What is that? Touchstone owned by
Disney, I think.
It's Disney for their adult works.
Well, yeah, because this movie is
Disney after
Ooh,
dark.
is it ever?
full of swear words. Anyway, I just wanted to preface by saying I actually liked this movie, and I'm embarrassed, I guess, to say that.
You did? I did not like this movie.
We laughed quite a bit. And,
Oh my God.
We watched it twice. We were kind of a little tipsy the first time we watched it. So, but I generally got some laughs out of, Alan Arkin. And I have to say that right out of the gate. That he's my favorite part of this movie.
Does Alan Arkin know where he is in this
He's
movie?
doing a kind of blasé performance.
I don't think anybody knows where they are. Tom Jones is in this movie, and
Tom Jones was like booked for a gig and he showed up. This has an amazing trailer. If you look at it on YouTube, it's 5 minutes long. It like appeared on VHS and it's filled with like behind the scenes footage.
Yeah, I saw it.
We
We watched
Alan
that.
Arkin having to be like, oh yeah, I love the Jerky Boys. What they're doing is
He may have just been for a paycheck.
revolutionary.
And then Tom Jones go, I've never heard of the Jerky Boys, but I don't know what I'm doing in this movie.
They got celebrities to be in this movie. Ozzy Osbourne, Tom Jones, the guy from the Christmas store, Christmas Vacation.
William
Hickey.
William Hickey.
Or Hickney, yeah.
Alan
The guy who
Arkin.
does the voice of the mad scientist in Nightmare Before Christmas.
The guy from The Sopranos, one of the guys.
Vincent Salvatore?
Pastore.
Pastore.
I think all these other stars, it just weakens the Jerky Boys' pure charisma.
I think, they have two celebrities in this movie. They're called the Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
Johnny B. So for people that don't know who the Jerky Boys are, it's just like a duo, Johnny B and Kamal. Johnny Brennan, who you might know from, who now does voice work on Family Guy. He plays,
I was going to say Big Money Hustlers, the Insane Clown Posse movie.
I like that they actually broke up.
Rudy Ray Moore was in that movie, according to the poster. I was like, what?
They're in the Insane Clown Posse movie, both of them, but they never share a scene together.
I think
That's
they were on the outs at that point, and then I love the fact that Kamal sent the manager a note to pass down to Johnny saying he was leaving the
They were not
the
on
Jerky
speaking
Boys.
terms. Why didn't he
should have-
crank call him?
Yeah, he should have cranks called him.
You should have called him as his
Like, I
character.
want
and
to
be
know,
like,
was
I'm
one of them
breaking up.
like, I'm the brains of the operation. You'd be nothing if it wasn't for me.
I mean, that's clearly Johnny B.
Yeah.
Johnny B does all the popular voices for the most part.
This, yeah.
Okay, wait.
That was kind of obvious.
April, are you like a Jerky Boys like professional now? You're like, my favorite voice is the old guy, or
Sal
I was looking at Wikipedia.
Rosenberg.
There's like a
Well,
list of characters.
It was pretty clear, like when I was younger and I started listening to these, that Johnny B was kind of doing most of the heavy lifting, and I think he kind of started doing this, and like Kamal, they grew up together.
No,
in
I think they
Queens.
did it together.
They
but
did, yeah.
clearly he was doing more of the voices, and it was like, well, we're doing it together, so we're the Jerky. Oh God, this cat. So we're the Jerky Boys. Like, this is our thing,
Mm-hmm.
but he's kind of doing all the heavy lifting in the movie, and I assume on the albums
all
as
the
well.
funnier bits are him. All the funnier voices usually are Johnny B, and Kamal kind of just does the one Indian voice and Kissel.
I do like the old man Frank Kissel
Kissel.
voice. It's
Well,
funny.
I'll say, never having cracked a grin or a smile through this film, they're all unfunny voices to me.
Yeah, I don't like Sal Rosenberg, which is the old man.
Hey, what's going on? It's me. I'm doing a prank call, you son of a bitch.
That's Frank
Stick it
Rizzo.
up my ass.
Frank Rizzo.
Saul Rosenberg kind of talks like this.
Frank Rizzo just sounds like Johnny B doing a
Yeah.
somewhat Italian accent.
Open your fucking ears, you jackass.
Yeah, and
Silly.
all his voices sound the same. I'm sorry.
They kind of do. Yeah, they're kind of like the New York voice.
And also he has this homosexual character who's
I am kind
Faye.
of talks like this.
Yeah, and literally every line has something to do with something going up someone's ass or talking about pimples on your ass or hemorrhoids. It's just nothing but butt stuff.
Yeah, we should be clear. Like, there are no jokes, really.
Oh,
it's just
I disagree.
insulting the people.
I disagree.
And if you look at the cover of the CD, it's like, not for the easily offended. I'm like, oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to one, racial slurs just flying out of their mouth.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
remember
probably
that.
even bluer on the record.
Yeah. It's definitely, Colin's like, I don't remember that. Colin, it was the 90s.
But I was,
Everyone talked
but I
like
was
that.
laughing so hard.
What does that say about you, Colin?
It was the early 2000s. No, I'm just kidding.
But like, we'll get into the plot of this movie, which
Plot.
is pretty simple. But my favorite thing I'm gonna get it out is Kamal's acting, which is one of the worst actors I've ever seen in a movie, and it's because he's not an actor. I can get that. Johnny
Very
B
uncomfortable.
is at least kind of keeping up. He's not great
Yeah.
either, but Kamal is like looking at the camera. He can barely get lines out without looking like he's laughing.
Yeah, he's kinda
Everything's
smiling.
monotone. It's incredibly amusing to
Yeah.
me.
My favorite thing, we'll get him off all right from the get-go, is Johnny B's beautiful mane of hair.
Oh my
Holy
God.
It's a great mullet.
This is like hard target Van Damme.
It's like down to like his waist, pretty much.
No, it's not that long, but I think it's past the shoulders.
Yeah, it is definitely past the
It
shoulder.
looks like two parts. It looks like, how Van Damme in Hard Target. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
the longer part has been like connected to the top part.
he's
Yeah.
wearing
somehow.
extensions.
He's wearing a mullet clip
Mullet
on.
extension. But like when he
It's like one of those hats that have the hair in it, except it's his hair.
but when he gets all dressed up at certain points where they're trying to get all formal, he's got it in a ponytail.
Yeah.
So I would love to be in the writer's room for this movie where they're like, all right, we got to give people what they want. Them making calls. How are we going to get there?
And they get there.
Oh, they get there.
There's so much phone-based humor.
Well, right at the beginning, there's a lot.
Oh, if it isn't like phones, it's walkie-talkies or intercoms.
I forgot to say my other favorite character is Johnny B's mom, who apparently played Lorraine Bracco's mom in Goodfellas, but she sounds like Lorraine Bracco sounds now, which is, she kinda talks like this. She's like
Andrew Dice Clay.
smoked a lot of cigarettes, I think, but I love her.
You boys gotta get off my couch and get a job.
Memories, two lazy bums. I loved her. She was, and then later in the movie, she gets to do a lot of stuff.
But she's always wearing this like I guess she works at a diner. It's like this
guess
horrible
that's a
polyester diner uniform.
Where's Kamal's parents? He has no
Yeah.
exterior life.
No, yeah, he doesn't.
He's adopted.
But God, we were laughing so hard at the mom's voice during the movie. Sorry, April's choking.
You're laughing too hard.
Too hard. We're like, God, she sounds like Lorraine Bracco does now. And then when April found out that she was like the mom in Goodfellas, and then at one point I thought, I think maybe Johnny B is like doing her voice because it sounds like one of his characters.
I don't think so.
Yo, boys, get off.
It was almost like a Jerky
Johnny
Boys.
B's like, I want to be Peter Seller. I want to play multiple characters. I'm shocked they didn't go that way. Like they met all the Jerky Boys characters and it's them like
dressed up,
practical makeup.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Whatever. Because the concept of the movie is they love to make
finally Frank Rizzo in the flesh. Here he is.
Yeah, and
make
boy,
prank phone calls.
They really build that up at the beginning of the movie. So the movie opens with them. First of all, the movie opens with the production company logos, and they're being heckled by the Jerky Boys. So you're in for a great time. And then we open up with them in an interrogation room with bags over their heads. Because I guess it's like
choice.
Well, I guess it's like the first time that people have ever seen them. Like they
Oh,
only
is
know
that
them.
what was up with those bags?
Yeah, because like you've never seen them before. You only know them from the CDs and the tapes and stuff like that.
You're like, yep, they look exactly the way that I thought they
Big
would.
unveiling. We're finally gonna see the Jerky
But
Boys.
they're
Jerky Boys. It's like, who is Thomas Pynchon?
Yeah.
Number 2, who are the Jerky Boys? Number 3, who is Deep Throat?
It's like Banksy. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
These.
I have
like
no
Daft Punk
idea
or
who that
something.
is.
Daft Punk. Yeah, so like they, you see them doing the voice. The camera is doing the Dutch angles in this scene they're insane.
Yeah, they went a little crazy at the beginning.
They're like Batman 1960s, like Dutch angles.
They want to let you know this is a comedy, Colin.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell by the funny voices.
They haven't picked up a phone yet. How are we supposed to know they're the Jerky Boys?
But I remember like Kamal starts singing the Indian voice. I remember April just going, ugh.
Yeah, and that's like most of Kamal's shtick is just doing his stereotypical Indian character.
To be fair, his father is from Bangladesh. So.
That's great. But I just don't think that there's anything funny about that character other than, it's a foreign character.
Yeah.
It's not really, are the other characters more funny? I don't know.
That's the thing about Kamal's stuff is he just sort of like yells a lot.
He just keeps going, ah!
Yeah, he's the Egyptian magician Tarbash, and he usually just calls people up pretending like his eye has been bitten by a snake or something like that.
Yeah, and I like his old man character because he sounds like Mr. Plinkett, but there's a lot more comedy you can mine by an old person character, which Sal Rosenberg is another example, than just the reason that this character is funny is that they have an Indian accent. Like that's all it really had going for it.
This is the thing, and I feel like the Jerky Boys over the years, have been heavily skewed by Johnny B's work. I don't think Kamal really contributes very much to the duo.
Well, this is the big, expose here. Colin's coming out. He's like, Johnny B, he was the anchor of the Jerky Boys. Yet I believe it was Kamal that broke up with Johnny B, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really dissecting.
He was the one who sent a note to the manager.
Jerky Boys relationship.
Like
behind the
laugh, behind the phone call.
But behind the jerks.
Yeah. It was so funny because I was looking up on YouTube and I found like an Inside Edition episode from 1992 or something where it was like, be careful who you give your phone number to because one of the Jerky Boys could pick it up. And it was like, we had them at the Inside Edition offices and had them answer our phones for a few hours. And it was just like, oh, God almighty.
Hey, you piece of shit. What are you doing?
Hey, you fucking silly ass jackass. Hey there, beefy tits.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I can hear the laughter in April's voice.
It's just there's nothing funny about Sizzle Chest or beefy tits or sugar pants is kind of funny, I guess. But that's
fruity ass.
Fruity ass.
That's kind of like that's basically a gay slur.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, slur.
Liver lips, whatever. My cousin used to call me Sizzle Chest. He thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
But I can't even begin to understand what the fuck a Sizzle Chest is. It's not anything.
It doesn't matter. It just sounds funny. And there's
April, you don't get memes, man.
I thought I got memes, but maybe
boy, it's a frog. He's on a unicycle. That's what's funny about
it. Doesn't matter. It just sounds funny.
It's just a funny word. Okay,
it's a funny phrase in a New York accent. Hey there, Sizzle Chest.
Yeah, I'm going to be with you, April. I don't get Sizzle Chest at all. There's no funny words in that.
Yeah.
Sizzle Chest, whatever. Anyway, so...
like if it was like diarrhea face or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'd get behind
something that was, even if it was just like poopy pants or something, that's funny to me.
I'm already laughing.
What are you, 6?
Okay, so anyway, let's get to the plot. So
Colin's like,
we haven't even
doesn't have
Johnny
the
B.
art of Sizzle Chest.
Art.
There's
I
a
don't
little
know,
bit
Sizzle
of
Chest.
there's a little bit of setup where it's like Johnny B and Kamal as kids making crank phone calls, and then you see them as adults wearing the same outfits, which is very cute, I guess.
I love how there's so many flashbacks in this
At the
opening
beginning,
scene.
yeah.
Oh, well, we got to see him do all their prank phone calls.
But like every scene is like crank phone call related.
Yeah.
Because what else are you gonna do?
I wrote it down. So they have a job at a construction site where they torture their boss on the walkie-talkie.
Not even torturing. He's looking at them doing it.
You can see them, and they're like throwing dirt on him and doing like the Frank Rizzo voice.
Yeah, they're very bad at prank phone calls.
Yeah, he's staring at them on the walkie-talkie. He knows it's them. They're just going, you silly ass, whatever. And he's like, you're fired.
Sizzle Chest.
And then cuts to them. It's like, what is he working at? Like
The fast food.
food
the
joint.
drive-through. Like, you silly ass.
Which, by the way, the fast food intercom has a face on it that moves.
I wish that existed.
That's
That
not
would
a
be
thing.
so good.
But hey, visually it looked interesting.
Listen, you can't. Prank phone calls don't work if you don't see the lips moving of the person doing it.
Also, it was called Burger Bob's, very close to Bob's
Burger
Burgers.
Bob's. What did he call him? Like,
Yeah, like the joke of the fast food is like, you want your nipple juice or something like that. Like that's
something to
it.
do with nipples.
no, he's taking his order and he's like misinterpreting everything. He's like, yeah, we got fried nipples in here and like whatever.
And the guy's like, no, that's not what I want. I mean, they deserve to be fired from those jobs.
Yeah, and he's like covering up his son's ears. And then it flashes back to them on just sitting on the couch. I guess they just sit on the couch all day and the mother's like giving them shit. And then
I wonder if this movie would have worked if it was R-rated and their
it is
stuff was
R-rated.
like, is it?
Are you kidding?
For the
No,
language, yeah. PG-13, even back then, you can't get that many fucks.
Oh, this is like fuck.
Oh, I didn't even realize there were any Fs. I just thought like
there's a lot.
They were like effing and jeffing
Fucking
all up.
shit. Fuck shit. Alan Arkin says that. Okay. So one thing I wanted to bring up, do you think this movie would have been better if it was maybe more of like a documentary style and there were real people in it, kind of like a Borat?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Jackass or something like that. Yeah.
Because the issue with the whole crank phone call thing is, well, these are just actors, and a similar movie that does this is the Tom Green movie, Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, that movie's amazing.
But in his show, he would do all these crazy things to real people, but
Right.
in the movie they're actors, so it's like it doesn't quite work the same way. But
I think the problem though is I don't like to see people just like terrorized by these comedians.
yeah, I mean this
like,
is
it's
a
not
little
fun
more.
for
It's
me.
crank phone calls, so it's like.
But like they call someone at a hospital, they're like, "I got hemorrhoids,"
Yeah.
and the person's like, "I'm a nurse, please. I'm working at a hospital."
Yeah,
what are you
I
doing?
think I would argue in this instance it's still funny, but would it have been funnier if it was more of like a Jackass type, or Dirty Grandpa or whatever, or Bad Grandpa?
Who knows?
I mean,
Bad
it
Grandpa.
would have more immediacy to it, but for me, the base concept is not something that gets me chuckling, so I don't think it would have made a difference.
they made
I
a
would have been more
movie.
impressed by it.
They made a movie out of guys who make crank phone calls.
I know, and they don't even actually have them make the crank phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, like later, like it becomes like we're gonna record ourselves talking, or they do the intercom thing again. Like it goes out of the realm.
You gotta
of
mix
crank
it up.
phone
Yeah,
calls.
you can't be like crank phone calling.
No,
it,
I
you know.
agree. I liked this movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised. Okay. I will say that I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I did get.
Oh.
There are some.
I could not smash that 1 star on Letterboxd fast enough.
It's really, really stupid, but it might be just the kind of stupid that it just
Watching
jived
it,
with
I was
me.
like,
don't know.
watch Dirty Work instead. Another one time.
Yeah.
I mean, not a novelty
Norm
act,
Macdonald?
but Norm Macdonald. So
Let's
funny.
watch that tonight.
It reminded
Colin.
me of that.
Colin,
I
let's
like
watch
Norm
that
Macdonald
tonight.
a lot. Okay, yeah, let's
Yeah.
watch it tonight. But I did get. There are a couple moments with Alan Arkin that I really laughed at. So
Alan Arkin's funny in this.
yeah,
Because he's taking it seriously, but at the same time, he's like we said earlier, he kind of seems like he doesn't know what movie he's in.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, he's like, well, my agent told me to, it's usually when an actor says like, my kids were big fans. I got a call from my, I got a call from my agent.
That's the vibe I'm getting. And he's like, who is this Frank Rizzo guy? Fruity ass. It's just the way he says it is funny. And then they're like, they said you knew Mario. Mario, there's like 500 Marios. Like,
wait, we're jumping ahead because another issue I had with this film is the whole plot. They bring it onto themselves.
They do.
Keep digging deeper.
For seemingly no reason other than they're scamming. They're trying to scam them.
They're trying to get a job basically because the mom is giving them shit for just being lazy. And so basically they go to their bar, Mickey's. They try to get...
Well, they meet their the guy that knows them from the neighborhood, and he gives them the idea, I guess.
Brett Weir.
He's like, this guy looked really funny to me. Just this is my
favorite
design
part because this actor is from Frankenhooker. He's like an extra in King of New York, the Abel Ferrara film.
That's right.
So he's like a New York actor.
Yeah, he's got a
James Lawrence is his name.
He's got a gigantic pompadour and a huge, big, like wide-shouldered suit.
Yeah, he's got some shoulder pads going on.
He's the guy in RoboCop 3 at the beginning who's like, "Oh, you crashed my car,
I didn't know
RoboCop."
That. It's funny because he reminded me of one of the characters in the very first episode of RoboCop, the TV series that I worked on.
I would not be
and
surprised.
I looked him up,
too.
and it wasn't him, but he was in RoboCop 3.
So
random.
he's just happened to be in the RoboCop franchise.
So they go to their local bar, Mickey's. They try. They're like deadbeats. They have like a $600 tab or something. And this is the friend that they terrorized when they were kids.
With crank phone calls.
Brett Weir.
Oh, was that the kid at the beginning that like they tricked his parents into thinking he did
and the
something?
mom's like smacking him and stuff like that.
It's all coming together. What a tight script you got.
And then he says that it all comes back. They're setting up, things that you got to pay off.
Exactly.
And then he says he's going to like a meeting. He pays for their drinks. And then they just decide to crank call this restaurant. They don't know what he does.
Yeah, but I thought they didn't know that the mob would be there.
No, they just crank call the mob. I don't think they know that.
But then don't they call and bring up the name of the friend and be like trash talking him?
Oh yeah, okay. So
I thought that they just got the idea. See, we watched it twice and we don't even know. We do not even know.
It's like a Thomas Pynchon novel. So many layers. You really got to break it down.
Speaking of watching this movie twice, this movie is like 80-something minutes. It's so mercifully short, and that's another reason why I loved it. It.
Still says you.
Liked it.
Where I'm like, what? Why is Kamal making out with the assistant nurse waitress?
Oh yeah,
assistant waitress. Oh, you mean the
the waitress.
That's later on at Tuts. You mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, so then So Frank Rizzo, the character, calls like the mob.
The character calls the mob.
Calls the mob at this restaurant, and then he says,
"Yeah, they're so good that like they become flesh and blood as we listen to them."
Yeah, he calls. Was it Vincent Pastore?
The guy from The Sopranos.
Yeah, and then he says, "I'm from Chicago. My name is Mario," or Frank Rizzo. Sorry, and he says, "I know Alan Arkin from back in the day."
Back from the old country.
Back in the old country. My two guys from Chicago are coming into New York. Show them a good time, pretty much. So they just kind of scam their way. I have no idea what their end game is with this.
Yeah, like it's not discussed like, hey, we should do this because then the mob will treat us like one of their own and then maybe we could be in the mob like our friend there. Yeah. That's never discussed, so it's not clear what their goal is or what their plan is.
They just want a free meal.
Yeah, they just want to freeload.
They're just like seeing as far as they could get. Hey, we have one talent. Crank phone calls. Let's use it to our ultimate ability and see where it gets us.
We just need a lot of phones. So then they introduce Ernie Lazaro, who's Alan Arkin. He's like the kind of mob boss of New York. And he's like, I love how
introduces him exactly like Alan Arkin's performance is, sleeping in a chair.
That was in between takes.
I just love how, and he says he knew like Mario. He knows you from Mario back in the day. And he's like, there's like 400 Marios. And I love how long they spend actually trying to figure out who
Frank Rizzo
is. It's like, could he have been this? Could he have been that?
Is he the guy that sent the killer clown? Hey, you better write that down because that's going to come up later.
Apparently that was a reference to a bit, which I did not know. And it was a reference to some crank phone call from the album.
Yeah, so then they cut to it. They're like, all right, fine, let's like take these guys out for night in the town. And then this limo is picking them up. They're dressed in like these ridiculous like 1970s
Yeah,
suits.
they're
I
wearing
guess it's
comedy outfits.
Yeah, I guess it's like they're dad suits that have been lying around from the 70s or something.
Very ill-fitting.
And then they go to see Tom Jones. And I'm like, they're not going to show Tom Jones in this movie. And first of all, the place that they show up to has a huge marquee outside that says Tom Jones. It looks like the Apollo Theater. It's gigantic. And when they go inside, it's just like a restaurant. It's very
with
weird.
a tiny little stage.
It's very, very strange. It's not like a concert hall, but the outside is like the biggest marquee I've ever seen.
Hey, they only had $8 million budget. So Tom Jones. Do you think Tom Jones was a fan of the Jerky Boys?
No.
Absolutely not.
You think he was just like, this is the new movie, I'm available?
I think it was...
Yeah, you want me in your movie? Put my hand out, put the check in it, ready to go.
Yeah, and I think, it was like he was singing Lenny Kravitz, Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Yes.
And I think
very good cover.
He kind of came out with an album, I think, at that time, where he was like doing kind of like cool songs.
Contemporary
covers? Songs to like, get hip with the kids.
This 70-year-old man wants to show.
Hey, man, he's still got it. This guy.
I agree. He is a wonderful singer.
Jesus Christ, he can sing. And I think it was one of those things like his agent... Hey, the Jerky Boys, they're looking for a singer for some movie. I never heard of them.
You were watching some video where he's like, it's hilarious. I love it. I mean,
he's paid to say that.
Of course he's going to say that.
It was like the EPK.
It's hilarious. I love the Jerky Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa, Tom Jones is from Mars Attack. I love that guy.
That's right.
He's in Mars Attack?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he plays himself.
Who is this
he has a
Tim
big
Burton?
role.
Does he always play himself?
Yes. Who else is he going to play? A Welsh coal miner?
I don't know. But anyway, what happens in this scene?
In this scene,
they're at the restaurant.
They're at the restaurant, and a big laugh for me was when Kamal just starts choking on something during Tom Jones's performance. And
it's because he was looking at the lady's boobs.
I don't know, but he starts choking on food, and then Johnny B just jumps over and starts punching him, and it's like he's giving him the Heimlich, but he's just punching him in the stomach really,
he just
really
grabs
hard.
his neck and just starts wailing on his stomach.
But it's so fast and hard.
Yeah, like it seemed like it was almost like a joke between them or something.
I don't know. Well, Tom Jones wasn't laughing. But he was reacting from stage going, oh, what's happening over there? I'm singing on stage.
Yeah, not good. I'm like, when are the laughs coming?
We laughed.
Where's a phone? I want him to get back to making the crank call.
April, you're going to have to put some canned laughter on this.
Yeah, again, I don't know what that says about us, but we were amused by this movie.
Very drunk the first time.
We were, but the second time we still laughed at things, although we were hungover, so maybe that made a difference.
We were supposed to record yesterday. We canceled because we were hungover.
We were a little sleepy, but you know what? It's a holiday in Canada today. Jerky Boys Day, they should call it. No, it's Victoria
No,
Day.
they shouldn't.
Okay, so what happens next?
Well, then they call again, Frank Rizzo, and he's like, yeah, take my boys out again. And then they meet the mob bosses, and then they give them their first job, which is to go to Mickey's bar and beat up Mickey.
Right, which they don't do. They just say, hey, lay low for a while.
Yeah, they
that's
try
kinda
to...
it.
Basically, the mob just wants him to sell his bar so they can knock the whole... They go, we're knocking down the whole block next Monday.
To put up... next Monday. To put up condos.
To put up condos or something
That's
like
just
that.
Just like real condo developers.
It's like
true.
Toronto.
It's like Toronto, except Brad Lamb... Oh, never mind.
Where are our Jerky Boys to save the local Mickeys?
Yeah, we need a Jerky Boys team, a local heroes.
Yeah. Hey there, silly ass. Don't sell that land. That's all I got.
So what I remember the scenes, but I don't remember what order they come in.
Well, they get the shit beaten out of them by Mickey. And then their pompadoured friend, Brett Weir, kind of rats them out. He's like, oh, they've been
yes.
pretending to be mobsters. He kind of like goes to Alan Arkin, and he's like, those guys, they're from Queens. We grew up together. But then he shows them a picture. He's like, yeah, look, we grew up together. And it's them in like baseball outfits. And then Brett Weir is like wearing a t-shirt that says Bat Boy. And
it really looked like it said Rat Boy, but it's them now. Like, it's like, look, we grew up together, and it's just them as adults. Kind of a cute guy.
Yeah, so Alan Arkin, they like kidnap them, and they take him to this hot dog processing plant.
Oh yeah, that was funny. I
is
really did think it was kind of silly.
That was a funny joke, and they had images of guys that they had brought there, and then an image of the hot dogs
Below
they turned
them.
into.
Yeah.
They're like,
underneath
yeah,
them.
have you ever heard of this hot dog? He's like, yeah, everybody knows that hot dog brand. They're all over
I think
the
it's
city.
called Heavenly Franks, maybe.
I can't
Get it
remember.
heavenly because it's like we sent guys to heaven.
Yeah.
It's like the Soylent Green of hot dogs.
Yeah, and like one of the
I mean, listen, April, all hot dogs are usually have a few human bits in them, probably.
you don't know what to know. It's made of assholes. One of the victims,
the tastiest part.
One of the victims looks like Jimmy Buffett or something. There's one guy wearing he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. But then they use their voice talents to get out of this. They get on the intercom, they do a Mexican voice, and then they like end up escaping from the hot dog plant. This is so funny.
Using the hot dogs
They're climbing,
as a rope?
yeah, they're climbing out the window using these linked hot dogs or linked sausages. And then Johnny B goes, "You think these cocks are gonna hold us?"
And we laughed really hard at that.
Yeah, this was great.
We didn't notice that's what he said until the second time we watched it.
Yeah,
We watched it with subtitles that time, to really absorb it.
So they escape.
and then they go to a concert.
Is this the Ozzy Osbourne scene, right?
This is the Ozzy Osbourne scene, and nothing makes any sense.
From now on, the movie is kind of like one crazy night because it's just like night connects into the next day, and then that's the rest of the movie. So it's that kind of basically the rest of the movie is kind of just we got to outrun the mob, we got to outsmart the mob.
Oh man, they are constantly going to stage shows.
Yeah,
They
there's
do,
like
Yeah.
three.
three
There,
stage
there are
shows.
3 in this movie, which is a lot.
We got to pad it out. You can't have them on the phone the entire movie.
Why not? That's what we know them for.
Yeah, I mean, what are they gonna do? Just sit in a basement and make crank calls? We gotta get them out there. I mean,
Wow, but you can. Oh man, can you imagine what kind of Jerky Boys movie could be made today with the magic of cell phones?
and deep fakes and
No, it would just be like people not recognizing the number and then just not picking up.
Hanging up.
yeah, I mean, it couldn't exist now the way it was. But they go to a rock show.
Yeah, they kind of fake their way in. They as like roadies.
Mm-hmm.
So they lock these roadies in the van, and then they kind of make the way in, lifting like the PA system.
And like every line like Kamal has is like, "Hey, yeah, we should go do this."
as he's
Why
looking
won't
at the
they let
camera
us
and kind of
do
smiling.
this? Huh?
And then we see Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, oh my god, Ozzy Osbourne's in this movie. He does not look like he knows where he is.
For that one shot, he's like, "Where have you guys been?
Where have you guys been?"
I'm out here."
I'm not sure he
Yeah.
was a Jerky Boy fan.
April, are you every guest star? April's like, "Were they a Jerky Boy?" fan?"
There's no other explanation for why they would be in this.
Money.
They only had $8 million though. How much went to Ozzy
yeah.
Osbourne?
One went to Tom Jones.
7 of it went to the guest
Yes.
stars.
It's like Sharon Osbourne.
made the
I
movie-
want Ozzy in that Jerky
They
Boys
could have
movie."
made this movie for $1 million. It does look pretty cheap, but they rented out locations. They had extras.
Hey, they shot in
several
Times Square.
sets. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did.
Definitely paid for it.
Oh, and
from it, too.
don't they ever let you know that they shot in Times Square?
It's all up on screen.
Oh yeah, and then so Ozzy Osbourne, you think, okay, is he going to perform? Like, is he going to be singing like Tom Jones? No, he's like
A band called Helmet.
Helmet, who I've never
I have
heard of.
them. They're like a grunge-y band from the
Oh,
90s.
okay. So
Yeah.
like Ozzy Osbourne is their manager. It makes no sense.
And
He's
then
like,
they do a Black Sabbath song,
Right.
which is confusing.
But he's like Ozzy Osbourne. Is like, who are you fucking guys? Like, do you know what you're doing? And they're hooking up all the PA and like mics and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're the fucking best. He goes, we'll wire up a toilet seat that'll suck the pants off you. And I don't know.
Why would you wire a toilet
We're the
seat
best
up?
electric. I don't know.
That's the joke. It's absurdity.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyway, and then
You're pro toilet seat joke.
and then like yeah, they're kind of hiding out, pretending. And then
And there's a gay panic scene.
Well, the band starts, all the amps like start sparking and stuff, and then Ozzy Osbourne's like, "You fucking assholes!"
I mean, we should mention they're being chased by 2 of the mob guys
Yeah.
during like the past like 3 scenes.
pretty much the whole movie.
Yeah, and they're like bumbling mob guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, because don't they go from this show to the other show?
Yeah. Well, they steal a cabbie's turban and a cab.
Yeah,
Meanwhile.
Kamal pretends to be a
So they run
cab
outside.
driver.
And then they're kind of like, the movie's like, well, I guess we got to give Kamal something to do.
Yeah, because he hasn't had hardly any voices yet.
Yeah.
And then we meet the big star of the movie, director Paul Bartel of Eating Raoul.
Yeah, the Eating Raoul guy's in this.
Are you kidding? Is that him at Tuts?
Yeah, that's the guy who's like, where have you been? Get up on stage. It's Paul Bartel.
I've never actually seen Eating Raoul, but he had a cameo in
Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall. Yeah, and
because he also directed Death Race 2000.
That's
He's done
right.
tons of stuff.
Yeah, so again, another famous person
I
in
didn't
the
know that
Jerky
was
Boys
him. That's so
movie.
funny. Yeah, so they end up at like
April, do you think that he loved the Jerky Boys?
I think he might have just been in it for the paycheck, just guessing, because he likes to do B movies.
It'd be really
Yeah, Paul Bartel's like, yeah, I'd like to do B
Johnny
movies.
B movies.
It'd be really funny if like one of them actually genuinely loved the Jerky Boys. It was really
He had like a tattoo of the Jerky
No,
Boys.
it's like Tom Jones. I've got a tattoo of Johnny B on my ass.
How many people do you think have tattoos of the Jerky Boys? Of like the
Tons.
logo of that
the
screaming
guy
man?
like screaming. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
got to be a lot.
Dozens.
Where was that guy in the movie? The screaming guy. He's in the trailer. He's like animated and he bursts
he
out
really?
of the phone.
Justin,
Yeah.
Google Jerky Boys tattoo. You're at,
Oh, there's got to be.
you're at a computer.
You're on the internet right now. Do it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on the internet. Is there a photo of me with the Jerky Boys tattoo?
There has to be. Anyway, so now we get the Egyptian magician
Yeah,
scene,
so
which is not funny.
No,
at
and
all.
they end up at this Egyptian-themed restaurant called Tuts for some reason, and they have like it's got
some
hieroglyphics,
reason.
hieroglyphics on the walls. And Kamal comes in wearing like the turban that he stole from the taxi driver, and then they all think
mistaken identity.
they're waiting for a famous Egyptian magician.
I think it was just an Egyptian or a magician.
He says the Egyptian magician.
Well, then that's apparently a character
I guess
that Kamal did.
It
on
was.
The album.
Come on,
Tarbash.
Colin. You're our Jerky Boys expert.
Yeah, it was Tarbash,
You don't know the
Egyptian
magician character?
But for some reason, I'm talking about the people in the movie who are waiting for an Egyptian
yeah.
magician for some reason.
Maybe. Yeah. Wait. So he exists in this universe?
I
Yeah,
guess.
I guess.
Yeah, they're like, where have you been? You're
confusing.
late. So I guess he was held up somewhere. I guess Egyptians have
He tries to
turbans.
do his act. He fails. And then the mob comes in and starts shooting up. And then the
Wait.
waitress is like
There was
so
some
hot for him.
horny waitress.
She's like licking her lips, and she's into it.
but she has this kind of like eyeliner,
Well, it's like supposed to be Egyptian.
like Egyptian eyeliner, which is really strange. And she is just licking her lips the entire time.
It's a very. She looks like a cartoon like dog and those like.
With like
yeah.
Tex Avery
Yeah.
cartoons. Oh.
She does, and so she's like, "Come
Yeah,
upstairs."
she cannot get enough of Kamal like stumbling, barely saying his lines.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
trying not to smile, and
He's
looking at
clearly
camera.
not doing anything, and so she wants him, so she brings him upstairs, and then like the guys are like, "Oh yeah," and Johnny B is like.
He's like
wearing
looking through the window.
ridiculously Coke bottle glasses and
Yeah.
a hat, and he's doing the Saul Rosenberg.
Guys, I'm looking at the Jerky Boys list of characters here. It is like more complicated than the Marvel Cinematic
Oh my
Universe.
God.
Brett Weir, who appears in this movie, is the name of Johnny Brennan's brother-in-law mentioned in 2 of the prank phone calls. So that's why he plays that character. So fans were so excited.
He's the failed mob
Oh
guy.
God. Pico, an abused Mexican immigrant.
I had an
Yeah.
idea that like probably this movie was filled with references that I'm not getting because I didn't listen to the Jerky Boys albums.
Yeah,
Like this was for the fans,
sure.
you know.
Yeah, this is for the Jerky Boy fans.
Anyway.
Searching Jerky Boys tattoo, not one.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
I can't believe that
There's
there's
nothing.
people that have Woody Allen cartoon tattoos.
Like Gangnam style tattoo.
Yeah, Gangnam stuff. You know who has like novelty act tattoos? Tattoo artists, because they just will put anything on their body. I saw a guy at a tattoo place once, and he had a Neopet on his arm. Remember Neopets? Colin doesn't,
Yes.
but Justin, you do.
Do you?
Sorry, I'm laughing because I read a Hard Times headline, which is millennials are ruining everything, including my ability to land Jerky Boys references. For people that don't know the hard time, it's like The Onion, basically.
So anyway, the waitress brings Kamal upstairs, and she tries to come on to him, and he can't get a boner. Literally, that's what happens. And so...
Well, that's time to talk about our sponsor, Blue Chew. Don't be Kamal.
Oh God!
Yeah, and then Johnny B comes in and pulls him out, and it's a very culturally uncomfortable moment.
And then they run back to Johnny B's house, and then they get arrested. First of all, there's like this detective.
Now we're back at the beginning of the
exactly.
movie.
So there's like the detective set up at the beginning of the movie, and
he's kind of been following them the whole time. He wasn't really worth mentioning. But,
so now we're kind of back when they get arrested at the beginning of the movie with bags over their heads. So there's no point for them to put bags over their heads.
Maybe they just didn't want the press to see them on the way in or something.
Only to set up the beginning of the movie when they are revealed for the first time to the audience.
Yes.
So it's like...
Yeah, I mean, back in the 90s, you didn't have the internet or television or newspapers or magazines. You didn't know what these guys looked like.
Yeah, now you would know everything.
Yeah, it was the oral tradition. You'd hear about these prank phone calls.
You'd draw pictures of them in dirt around the
you
fire.
know, guys, hey, don't you think that maybe the Jerky Boys are like podcasters today? Because there's a lot of podcasters I listen to, not all of them, that like... you get so used to the sound of their voice when you see them. It's like
a disconnect.
I just don't like. I don't even. It's weird to me to see the face.
Really? Because every podcaster I listen to, I'm like, this is a white bespectacled man, and then I see a photo, I'm like, yeah, that's what he looks like.
It's still weird though when you develop a relationship. What's it called for a one-sided relationship? Parasocial relationship with a person, a real person in this case, not a character, and then you see them like on a video podcast, and it's strange.
Well, it's kind of weird seeing Kamal in this movie because I only know him from like the crank calls where he's doing his like Indian voice or whatever. So he's like,
I mean,
to
that's
see him and have
why
this like
in the
thick
classic
New York
TV
accent.
show Crank Anchors, they made it puppets, so you wouldn't have that disconnect.
Right.
He looks so like Queens. He's wearing like a baseball jersey and a hat. But you know, I think it's good that they're kind of representing their like Queens roots. Like it takes place in Queens, like they shot in Queens. Like it's cute.
I was curious about their house. Like Johnny B's house is on this street, and at the end of the street is like this roller coaster. It looks like.
Is it that, or is it some kind of scaffolding?
It looks like a roller coaster, or I don't know.
I've never been to Queens, so I can't say. Someday I will.
Oh no, it's are you talking about the subway?
Yeah, is it the subway? Because they do go up.
Yeah, I think it's
into
the subway.
Around this time.
Well,
they escape.
Like when they have the car chase and they crash into it near it?
No. Every time they show an establishing shot of Johnny B's street by his house, there's a huge roller coaster.
I don't know if that's a roller coaster.
I don't know.
Is that a reference to like a Jerky Boys bit where they're like, I live by a roller coaster?
No, maybe it's just a famous location in Queens.
New York residents, let us know.
It's not a
Was
subway
that a roller
because
coaster?
subway is underground.
Because I think I saw that location in Holes. The move, because it starts off in New York.
I feel like I've seen it in a video game. Maybe it's like one of the Grand Theft Auto video games.
Not all subways are underground in New York. They're above ground and they run.
Yeah, there's a lot above ground as well.
You mean like the L?
Yeah.
Yes.
The elevated train in Chicago.
Sure.
Called the L because it's elevated.
I didn't realize that's why it was called
Really?
L train.
I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
It's not underground.
Okay, anyway, we need to skip to the part where their mom gets cement shoes, which is very funny to me.
This is next.
She gets, unfortunately, captured by the mob.
Yeah, so they escape from jail, and then they have a plan before they want to set up a sting operation, which involves a phone. Obviously.
And recording.
Yes. Check out phone.
And a tape recorder.
Yeah, recording Frank Rizzo on a tape recorder.
Yeah, so they get captured again by Alan Arkin, and the mom is in these cement shoes, still wearing the waitress like polyester
They're in
outfit.
detergent boxes, which is just a really funny visual. And then later she kicks the guys in the crotch. She's walking around.
What are you doing?
It's clearly not a real like block of cement, which is funny to me because it's basically she's abnormally tall walking around in these ridiculous detergent boxes.
These like Tide boxes. They would not
cute.
put the actress in real blocks of cement.
Of course not. I'm just saying,
I would guess.
Tega takes cement shoes to it.
Yeah, their method. She's like, give me the real cement.
It's real cement.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like back and forth of them like running away and going home, and so but they get the mom home, and then they say go to the neighbors.
Yeah, but the Brett Weir character is like, yeah, this Frank Rizzo person, he doesn't even exist, and they're like, oh yeah, well why don't you call him right now? And then Alan Arkin calls, and like Johnny B has already kind of set up this pre-recorded conversation.
Yeah, it's like one of those like answering machine gags.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a automated like. I don't know what you call it. Like what do you call those things?
An answering machine.
No, not an answering machine.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like a voicemail?
Yeah, never mind. I forget the name of it. But it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger like thing where you like.
Oh, a soundboard.
Like a tape recorder, yeah. A soundboard.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Last Action Hero, where he does that when his wife calls, but it's not really his wife.
Oh no.
Yeah, so they get Alan Arkin on tape.
Saying like, I've got all the cops in the city on the take or whatever,
so
blah, blah. And
Yeah.
then, but this is one of the funniest jokes. And then they end up like going to Johnny B's house, and their next door neighbor, William Hickey,
Who's always just sitting in a chair out front.
in the lawn. Alan Arkin recognizes him, and he's like, oh my God, it's Don so-and-so from way back
and then
in the
they
day.
cut to a flashback.
They have this flashback. It's like black and white, and they have like the Godfather music playing, and it's like slow motion.
It looked really silly.
And it's Alan Arkin as like a child, and he's seeing like William Hickey. He's got this really bad black wig on his head, being like driven through town on like a cart.
Is that something that happened?
I don't know. And he's like, he
looks like a Roman,
like emperor or
Yeah.
something. But it's really funny. And then he's like, oh my God, Don Vitello, whatever. And then they come back to like present day, and Alan Arkin is like, oh, and he goes to like kiss his ring.
His ring.
And then they just have William Hickey has this like big cigar, and Alan Arkin just instantly burns his eye.
Yeah.
It's like, and he goes, fucking shit.
He just goes, no, it's the way he says it. He just goes, fuck shit. It was just.
That was a funny joke, and he's like, oh, because he burned his eye.
Like,
he's like touching his eye for like 5 minutes.
The first time we watched that, I spit wine out. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
And they cut back to it, and he's still just like, oh, God. Whoa.
They only got that one take.
like-
They didn't get enough
like
coverage.
the Godfather music just stops. It's so funny.
And then the guys are escaping.
It's such a big
and
build-up for, like,
Arkin is
nothing.
getting his eye burned.
Fuck shit.
Oh, I mean, it's such a simple gag, but you know what? It worked.
Yeah.
It really was funny. And, it has this, the whole movie kind of has this kind of 90s feel to it, 90s comedy feel.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you would see in an early Adam Sandler, not later Adam Sandler.
An early Adam Sandler.
Yeah. And then the guys escape to where else?
Times
Times Square.
And man, oh man.
Yeah, this film, I think one of the big problems, it doesn't have a big climax.
No, because it's like
kind of brushed over.
chase in the second half, and then it's just like,
They get to Times Square. They blew all their money like renting the location for like 5 minutes, and they just do like a 360 again and again and again around them. As like they're calling all the news stations.
And Kamal's just like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's saying gibberish that's like faded off in the soundtrack, and it's, all you hear is Johnny B talking as his different voices saying, "Oh, we got all this information on the mob and the
Yeah,
police."
it's weird that like it doesn't climax with some kind of crank call or something
Yeah, in
like
this
that.
case, not really a crank call. They're just being like informants, and then it's
Yeah, the Jerky Boys are rats.
and then they're doing the classic spinning newspaper gag to get us through the plot explanation.
They ran out of money. They're like, we spent it all on Times Square.
Yeah, it's like Alan Arkin, arrested,
and
the
police
cop
chief,
has been arrested, and blah blah blah. It's like Frank Rizzo's, the rat, and he says the Jerky Boys were the
and then
reason-
it's like Jerky Boys back on the force, basically. But it's not explained like Jerky. Does it say like the Johnny B and Kamal heroes? Does it?
Yeah.
And,
Well, they get government jobs.
Yeah.
They're like, what do we do?
and then there's a phone on the table. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah. And then everybody's like, jumping to their feet.
And then they call. Who do they call?
Oh,
the
Bill
White
Bill
House.
Clinton. Oh man, it's
That
Bubba.
that's just
I'm
like
not a very good president.
it reminded me of the end of like I don't know, Silence of the Lambs, where it's like I'm going after the big.
The end of Silence of the Lambs.
Another phone call.
Where they're going to like eat Bill Clinton.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to have a president for lunch.
Oh, was that the version of Silence of the Lambs that played in cinemas for a week and then the ending got cut out? Like,
It's Hannibal
been lost
Lecter.
ever since.
Hannibal
Yeah.
Lecter going, "Hey, Sizzle Chest."
sorry. No, I'm thinking.
Oh, that's why Sizzle Chest, because he's gonna eat him. I get it
You know
now.
what? I was thinking of the South Park parody of Silence of the Lambs, like the kid the Hannibal Lecter kid who toilet papers houses, because at the end he puts the phone down and he's going to the White House.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's why I
So
was
wait,
thinking.
you confused South Park?
I did.
Wait, have you been
Actual
walking through
silence.
life seeking the end of Silence of the Lambs?
You know
This is
what?
Hannibal
You
Lecter.
watch South Park too much, and it
White
just
House.
poisons your brain.
Hello, Claire.
Yeah, if you watch South Park too much, you're like, you know what?
Clarice.
Global warming isn't real.
Clarice, silly tits. What's going on?
Yeah. And then that's the end of the movie. But of course, the credits have a wrap with
we have a stinger.
with their phone calls built
It's like
into
a
the
Jerky
wrap.
Boy rap. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
no,
I didn't do my due diligence. It was closed by then.
we get
also
a
a-
stinger where Brett Weir's house is destroyed by a.
Because earlier, Kamal, as Frank Kissel, called this demolition.
Oh,
place.
I was wondering what that demolition setup was
Yeah.
for. That lasted forever.
Yeah, and they really demolished a house. So I was just watching it thinking, they must have known about a demolition.
Well, guess what? They
happening,
built
and-
condos
and
there.
then they just filmed it.
yeah,
Yeah.
or it was like Tom Jones' house.
No, Jerky Boys fan number one, Tom Jones.
Yeah, I used to love you guys. What are you doing to my house? I'm Tom Jones.
Whoa, and that's the.
It's
Jerky
not
Boys.
unusual to be loved
Are you gonna
by
go my
anyone.
way?
What is it? His other song, "Everybody's Kung Fu Fighting."
No,
Even though it's a
that's not
cover.
Tom Jones.
Did he? Did
Isn't
he do
it?
that?
He did a cover of it, didn't he?
Probably.
Maybe that was on his cover album.
God.
Yeah.
He
It's
did
not-
What's
that's-
New
that's-
Pussycat.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a Carl Douglas song.
Which one?
But I could have sworn everyone's Kung Fu Fighting.
I think he
Yeah.
did do a cover of it.
Tom Jones did do the cover on Super Cop, which became the one that they played at the end of like every
God.
martial arts movie post Super
Oh,
Cop.
that was
Everybody
yeah.
was kung fu fighting.
Yeah, it even like shows up at the end of like Shaolin
Well, of
Soccer.
course, I love Jackie Chan. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, Jerky Boys number one.
Oh, it'd be
Jackie Chan
my
number
favorite
two.
movie if I could get Jackie Chan and the Jerky Boys together.
And the third thing I really love, Mars Attacks cards.
What? If Tim Burton could direct a movie with Jackie Chan and the Jerky Boys, it would be my favorite movie.
And they're fighting Martians.
Well,
Of course, I'd
that's
play
the
myself.
That's the Jerky Boys.
Tom Jones meets Jackie Chan
And the Jerky Boys.
It all ends-
versus Mars Attacks.
It all ends with them going to see a Tom Jones concert. Oh,
And it's like Tom Jones watching Tom Jones.
Well,
and then he chokes on
that's it.
food, and then Johnny B just starts punching him in the gut.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that was a fun time.
Well, if you want to watch the Jerky Boys, it's on iTunes.
$4.99
You can rent it. It's also streaming on YouTube. Justin, you said it's on some sort of library app.
Oh yeah, I was sorry. I was looking. It was like Bonanza or something like that.
I
Right?
think it was it Hoopla?
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
And like Colin was like, you and your funny made
I
up streaming
thought you
services.
made that up.
I've never used it because I still don't have a library card because I tried to get one, but they're not giving out new ones right now because of COVID.
Wait. Have you never had a library card since you lived in Toronto?
No, can you
April?
believe that?
I mean, I can believe it. I find it sad.
No, I agree.
I'm a man who has a York University library card as an alumni. I can go and rent books, which I did all the time pre-pandemic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, everything's kind of shut down now. Anyway, The Jerky Boys. Great movie. And thank you to Stephen Campbell for suggesting it. It was one that I wanted to do, but a lot of times we have these movies that we think, oh, I'd like to review that or watch it, and then it just you forget about it. It gets put
Yeah,
on the
I
back
usually kind of
burner.
jot them down like on the iPad. I'll go like movies.
Yeah,
for the,
I mean, I think
the
we even
podcast.
said it.
I'm
some
glad I
previous
took this
episode.
bullet so I don't have to do it on the Important Cinema Club, which I'm sure any day now I would have been like, well, The Jerky Boys.
It does seem like the type of thing that you guys would review because
Absolutely.
you guys talk about odd oddities like this.
I feel like Will was really burned by all the American Pie films that we watch, and if you listen to that podcast at the end, he's like, "No, I can't do this anymore. No more comedies."
I gotta jot down Disorderlies before I forget.
Oh, Disorderlies!
I don't even really know who the Fat Boys are. They're a little before my time.
I know, but you would know. Them.
Haven't you meet the people who defeated Freddy Krueger in their music video?
No.
What?
Okay, well, you gotta check out the Fat Boys and Freddy. Is it is it Are You Ready for Freddy, or am I thinking of the unlicensed Will Smith song? Yeah, it is Are You Ready for Freddy.
I don't know.
You didn't know that? Nightmare on My Street was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
What? Wow.
Okay.
No, I don't know about any of this. This is,
I got some learning to do.
Yeah, and the Fat Boys music video, Are You Ready for Freddy? I believe Robert Englund shows up in it as Freddy Krueger.
Oh my god. And also Tom Jones. I'm a big fan of the Fat Boys.
I really love. No, I'm more of a Freddy Krueger guy.
If they could do a movie with Jackie Chan, the Jerky Boys, and the Fat Boys, directed by Tim Burton.
Okay. If you want to eat, if
you
want to
We're done
stop,
here.
you got you jerkies.
Sizzle Chest.
fucking Jerky Boys.
Colin, you got me on the Jerky Boys side.
Oh my
Let's
god,
go
you're going to be calling everybody
calls.
beefy tits there, asshole. Open your fucking ears.
If you would like to email the podcast, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. About every 4 months or so, we do a listener request episode, like we
month.
like we
A nightmare.
not a whole month, like we did for this episode. So if you're on the $2 level and up, you will be submitted into that draw. And if you're on the $5 level, you get a little bonus episode every 2 weeks. This week we talked about the fantastic Zack Snyder movie Army of the Dead that is on Netflix. So if you want to listen to that, that's going to be out next week. We're on Twitter at No Such Thing Pod, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd and YouTube at April at Mansky.
You can follow me on Twitter at DeClouJ, DECLOUX, the letter J. I'm on YouTube at Film Trap, and every week on the Important Cinema Club podcast.
And you can follow me, Tom Jones, on Twitter at Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
Also, check me out on Cameo.
Now you have to stick to the bit, and you have to do Tom Jones related stuff for a week on your Instagram.
Tom Jones tweets.
The Tom Jones cast.
Like leading up to the release of this episode, and people are like, "What is going on? What is Tom Jones? Wait, how much do you think Tom Jones for a cameo? For him to be like, I love the Jerky Boys."
He's actually not on Cameo, but there's a Tom Jones impersonator on Cameo.
It was so funny, and I actually thought it was Tom Jones. I'm
believe it
like,
or not.
oh my god, he looks like a little weird.
Yeah.
He sounds like him, though.
He kind of does, and he looks like he's got a really bad tan. He looks like he's in blackface a little bit because he's got like white hair. And I'm like, he wouldn't be on Cameo.
You'd be surprised who's on Cameo, but apparently Tom Jones, too big to be on Cameo, not too big to be in the Jerky Boys movie.
Hello there, Sizzle Chest.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. For further information, check out the Jerky Boys albums from the early 90s. I'm April Admansky.
I'm Justin DeClue. Don't listen to those albums.
Yeah, maybe not.
I'm Colin Cunningham. The album's specifically from 1993 to 1995.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.